data that we're doing. Um, and then yeah, jump on if you want. All right. I'll see you there. See you.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right. Let's see. Whoa. We'll give it a few minutes, let some others log on, and then we'll jump in. Coming. So, as I always do, I like to start with the Gary Keller quote. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? This is straight out of The One Thing, which is Gary's second bestseller behind the MREA. The beauty of the One Thing book is it does not just apply to real estate. It's that 80-20 rule exemplified across the board. And this should be available in multiple areas or categories where what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier. Can anybody guess what is the answer to that question for real estate?
Lead gen.
Bingo! Linan wins. It is lead gen. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that we've already talked about before. It is your database. I know most of you groan and think I'm so sick of talking about this. However, I'm going to show you a couple of reasons why we hammer home the database so much. So this is my business specifically. It's not the team. It's not all of Keller Williams. It is only my business year to date. We're at April 14th, 2025. I have 11, actually I have 12 sales. There's a second one that just got put under contract yesterday. 12 sales closed and or pending. 10 of those are from the database. Technically 11 of them are because the one yesterday was an agent referral and she is in my database. Now, the sales volume from database only is actually, I'm going to update this in real time because I just said that, 11 out of 12. The one yesterday was 305. And then we have 2 listings coming soon that are also from the database. So roughly almost 6 million in volume from the database, and we're 4 months into the year, 3.5. Do you think database works? 95% of the deals I have sold, whatever 95% of 300 is, 300 and some change, have been from the database. It works. It also is meant to be easier for you because, as we've said before, anybody that's in your database should be somebody that you're willing to call or that you're willing to interact with on a regular basis. And if we do that at a high level, they will repeat business with us. Now, the extra mile is to go further, is to get referrals out of those folks. We're going to talk about some of those ideas today. But if you take care of your clients like they are your one and only client and you go above and beyond and serve them, they will refer you business. And most importantly, they will work with you again. So you keep them in your database, you follow up with them over time. Out of these 11 sales, I think 3 or 4 of them are repeat business. A lot of them are new people that we're still interacting with. Now, today, I'm going to give you some strategies at the end, and we're going to work them in live real time tomorrow on what you can be saying or what exactly you can be doing to follow up with your database. So I know we've talked a lot about the theory, or we know that we should be following up the database. A lot of questions I get asked are, okay, but what am I saying? Now, before we get there, let's have a reminder. Who is in your database? I just talked about this. Anyone you have a relationship with, anyone you have a substantive conversation about real estate with, your referral partners, your potential buyers and sellers. We're going to talk about that today, as well as active clients, and then your past clients and your vendor partners. We want to make sure that we are growing our database every single day, at a minimum every single week. And on top of that, we want to qualify the folks in our database. Now, there's not necessarily a slide on this, but the better you can qualify your people, the more segmented different conversations you can have. So, for example, if I have a potential buyer or somebody that's interested in buying a house and I tag them buyer in my database, I'm not going to send them curious how much your home is worth stuff. I am going to send them curious about the interest rates in today's market, or here's the 5 mistakes people make when buying their first house. Here's how not to make them. Those type of content related touches go much further when they're personalized. Now, when I say personalized, I don't mean you have to individually craft a message to every single person. However, the more tags or the more specific qualifications you can add to people in your database, the more impactful your conversations will be. Now, you should have daily time devoted to lead gen. We talked about this. More importantly, you should have daily time committed to your database where you can give value as much as possible. This says next slide. I'm going to share the DTD2 schedule with you in the email that goes out with the follow-up or with the recording. So you'll get a copy of that. If you Google DTD2 2025, it'll pop up. Now that stands for Do the Database 2 or 2.0. What that really means is we're going to reach out to people in our database based on what letter their last name starts with. And each week is a different 2 letters. The whole point of DTD2 is to hit those 4 calls a year to your database, and it eliminates call bias, which is important because if you're like most people, myself included, you pull up your database, even if you have 100 people in there, there's 10 that I really want to talk to. And I'm going to call those same 10 every week because it's easy. And then I'm going to kick myself wondering why I don't have the amount of business that I really want. It's because we're not calling enough people or interacting with enough people. Now, we touched on this a little bit last week. Your database is really 3 different things. When you're starting out, it's 2 different things. As you start to get leads, we add the third. So your first one is your database or your CRM. If you're at Keller Williams, it's Command, at least hopefully it should be. It can also be your contacts in your phone. Now, we've talked about this previously as well. Contacts are considered complete in the CRM if we have a variety of conversation or a variety of contact info, meaning if I have somebody in my database whose name is John Smith and I have a cell phone number, but I don't have their address or their email, I can only call or text them. If I have their email, now I can email them. If I have their address, now I can send them direct mail. If I have their social media, now I can connect with them on social media. You can go deeper, and that's how you have more conversations or you stay top of mind with them. The second one, and it's not necessarily in order here, but the second one would be social media. An exercise that you can do with yourself today is anybody that's in your command or in your phone contacts that you regularly follow up with, make sure you are friends with them on social media. Make sure they're friends with you on Facebook or they're following you and you're following them on Instagram. They will see your content more, especially with all the energy and attention we're putting into quality content. We want to make sure they see that. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you've been doing the exercises that we started last week, both with our social media training and then again with Rachel, I've already started beating the algorithm. I'm seeing more people in my feed on a variety basis, and I'm interacting with more people than I ever have probably in the last 2 years on social media. So whatever she was spewing at us works. Now, I know it felt like we were drinking from a fire hose, but if there's any one thing that you can take away from what Rachel said and from what I said last week, it's doing that 555. We're going to talk about it later today again to remind you, but pick people on your social media and go interact with them. Commenting on their stuff works the best. So we have 3 databases we can be attacking because the third one is your pipeline. Once you start interacting with potential buyers and sellers, they go on a pipeline. Now, we're not going to spend too much time talking about the pipeline today because I'm going to show you what that looks like tomorrow. However, those should be your 3 categories of database. Now, let's talk about what that time block looks like. If there's one slide I want you to pay attention to, it's this one from today. You've heard the saying or the point that lead gen should happen in the morning. You've heard that 9 to 11 or 9 to 12 example. There's a class that used to be taught at a high level at Keller Williams. We've kind of shifted gears away from it for a little bit, but it is called 36-12-3. It stands for do 36 transactions in 12 months with lead generation 3 hours a day. This is pulled straight from that training. I am in a specific MAPS coaching program right now that is with team leaders all over the country, not team leaders meaning real estate teams, team leaders like Beth Pretty's position, team leaders as in leadership. Even the leadership follows the same lead gen in the morning schedule. Their appointments take place in the afternoon. The reason why is it works. Regardless of whether you're recruiting or hiring agents or selling houses, buyers and sellers alike, the lead gen in the morning is what works. This is the schedule that I am making a point to follow in my own business. We're going to talk about some changes to come tomorrow. I'll tease them again at the end of today, but I want to make sure we have time to get through everything. But we're going to build this into your schedule wherever possible. Now, those of you that have kids or second jobs or other commitments, it's okay that this doesn't happen every single day. However, we're going to do what we can to get close. First thing in the morning, we're going to post to social media. This was taken straight out of Rachel's training. She said post in the morning. Notice how it just says post. It doesn't say scroll. It doesn't say interact. It doesn't say respond to messages. It's craft your post and post it. If you're really time sensitive or you really want to get out ahead of yourselves, you can plan the post the day before, the night before. 8:30 to 9 a.m., you're going to prepare who you're going to call or who you're going to reach out to. If you have that DTD2 handy, pull it up. I'll show you tricks tomorrow on how you can tag people in your command so your command will tell you who to call. From 9 to 10, you're going to make calls. You're going to reach out to your database. I'm going to give you some specific examples of what you can be saying today. 10 to 10:30, you're going to pause from making calls and you're going to give yourself a break where you're going to go on social media and interact with people using that 5-5-5 method. 10 to 11 or 10:30 to 11, it can be 10:15 to 11 too. Some people on social media get that done quicker. You're going to make your pipeline calls and confirming appointments that you have that day. Now, if you don't have a pipeline or if you don't have appointments, you're going to do more calls to the database. And then 11 to 12, you're going to do follow-up. So when I'm making calls 9 to 10, if I have a list of 15 people I'm going to call, if I call the first 5 and then I'm in the process of calling 6 and number 3 calls me back, I don't answer it. I keep going down my list of calls because I have a list of people to get through. During that 11 to 12 window is when I'm going to call back those people that I missed. This can also be follow-up with people from the day before. For example, I'm in a listing appointment or a buyer showing this afternoon and somebody calls me back from that I called this morning. I'm not going to be able to answer it because I'm in a buyer appointment. So I will call them back tomorrow during the follow-up window. Now I may text them and say, hey, in appointments, call you back as soon as I can. How does tomorrow at 11 work? Or if it's pressing, I may say, hey, in appointments, can I call you when we're done? And I'll call them on the way back. It's up to you. If you don't have appointments in the afternoon, follow-up can also take place in the afternoon. Any questions or comments or thoughts on this lead gen schedule? I grab my water. Cool. Now, this is what Monday, Wednesday, and Friday look like for me. Technically, Monday doesn't have make calls from 9 to 10. Everything shifts an hour. So, and full disclosure, from 8:30 to 9 a.m., I do a huddle now with Mike for my team. So it's 8 o'clock is my social media post. If you go look at my Instagram or my Facebook, I posted something this morning already for Monday Mindset. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Mondays, I'm in this training. So at 10 o'clock is when I start calling the database. I also do more follow-up calls from 12 to 1 instead of from 11 to 12. Tuesdays, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We've talked about this last week, but we're going to be together at 9 o'clock and doing active lead gen. So tomorrow, we're going to start making touches to our database as a group. I'm going to do it with mine as well. And then Wednesday, this is what their schedule looks like. Actually, Thursday, I do this as well. And then Friday, I do this. Now, as you build a robust pipeline, you have more pipeline calls to make. So typically a Thursday or a Friday will be more calls to my pipeline. I'll show you real quickly. This is my pipeline. There's 11 sellers and 18 buyers. So I can't get through all of them in one day in 30 minutes. So I break it up and I do some each day in the 30-minute time slots. And then one day a week, I will typically give it an hour. Now, full disclosure, the social media interaction takes me about 10 minutes. It doesn't take me a full 30 minutes. It also speeds up as you interact with more people because then you start seeing more variety in your timeline. In the beginning, or when I first started doing this, at the beginning of this year, when I was committed to social media, I was seeing a lot of like business accounts or inspirational quotes or sports accounts that I follow, and I'm not going to interact with those. So it takes me a little longer to find people. A friendly trick, go to your followers on Instagram or go to your Facebook friends and pick people out of that to interact with. That's one of the things we talked about last week. Go to the A's and pick the A's. Go to the B's, pick the B's. Even if you don't want to be that regimented, just pick people from there instead of scrolling and looking. Oops. All right. Never forget, we want to be adding to our database. Those of you that are hosting open houses, this is a great way to do it. Now, occasionally you'll run into the anomaly like Mike did on Saturday, where he did an open house. And I think he said he had 12 or 13 people come through or groups of people come through. And every single one of them said they had a representation or an agent. So he might not get the database ads out of that one that I normally would. Now, he and I did not necessarily talk about this yet, but I know he knows it because I've been beating into him like a drum. Take advantage or squeeze every drop of the lemon that you can when you're already doing something. So, for example, when I'm doing an open house, I want to make sure I door knock if I have the chance. I want to make sure I do social media posts when I'm there. Go live on Facebook or do an Instagram reel showcasing the house and showing that you're there for an open house. Reach out to your database before and during and after the open house and let them know that it was taking place, especially if they live in the area or if it's something that somebody in your pipeline may be interested in. And then follow up. Even if they have a representation, you can still follow up and just say, thanks for coming by. Have your agent reach out to me if they have any questions, because then you have an opportunity to build a rapport with an agent. Does that necessarily directly translate to deals? No. However, it may make your life easier. The buyer that I got under contract yesterday was a multiple offer scenario where we won because I have a relationship with that agent. We were not the highest offer out the gate. But that agent and I communicated consistently throughout the weekend, and I was able to tweak some terms. We bumped our offer up a little bit, but we added some terms and added some follow-up and gave the sellers the closing date they needed, which locked in the deal because I had a relationship with that agent. We just talked about social media. That is another form of your database. The more you interact and the more you build content on your social media, the better. Now, something that I'm personally working on, and Mike pointed this out in our huddle this morning, it cannot be all about real estate. I post too much about real estate, in part because I keep my kids' lives private. I don't want to post so much about my kids. Every now and then I'll post something, but most of the time I try to keep their stuff private. And so it's either kids, jujitsu, or work. And then naturally it just comes up to be a lot of work. So that is a challenge for myself where I'm looking to post more personal content or stuff that's not just real estate. Things that you're already doing on your daily activities can A, give you those ideas on what you can post on social media, and B, they can be a tremendous source of your business. A lot of the deals I get come from the jiu-jitsu school. Tom Weir, a lot of the business he gets comes from the soccer that he coaches with his kids. I have a friend of mine who's in real estate that all of her business comes from the nail salon that her family owns that she works at as well. Your kids' school, those type of activities. Your school, if you're involved in an alumni event, that can be something that you can get business from. And then you have networking events and direct referrals. Questions on how to add to the database. I know I'm moving kind of quick. I want to make sure I have enough time to share some stuff at the end. All right. 36 touch. We've talked about this at length before, and yet I've crafted one with the help of some other productivity coaches to modify this to make it as inexpensive as possible and yet easy to set it and repeat it to your database. We call this the new agent 36 touch. Now, this is not necessarily new agent, meaning new to the business. We mean new as in it's a new version of the 36 touch. When the MREA was written, it was 33 touches. Due to the increase in technology, it has changed to be 36. Most agents do much more than that, especially if you're going to host client events. You have more touches going out to your database, inviting them to the client event, thanking them for attending, seeing them at the client event, etc. If you add these numbers up, we have 36 times. This is in a year. So they get one email every single month with the newsletter. That's free to do. You have command, build it out yourself. You can also look at examples through smart plans or go on Canva and type in real estate newsletter and craft your own. This can also evolve over time. Our newsletters now are much better than they were 6 months ago. 6 handwritten notes. If you really want to go above and beyond with your database, I'm convinced this is my superpower because this is something I've done since I got in the business. And I've literally gone on appointments and seen handwritten notes that I've sent people years ago sitting on their desk or on their fridge. You send a handwritten note every other month to your database. Now, this is not everyone in your database. This is A's and B's that you have an address for, meaning they're going to do business with you again or send you referrals or both. Now, a question I get a lot of times here is, what do you write on the handwritten note? And my thought is, or my point is, it depends. Some examples of what I write on the handwritten notes. Market updates. I will ask them questions which will require them to reach out to me and get the answer, such as, did you see what your neighbor's home sold for? My favorite script that I use, probably more than most, I was in your area the other day with another client and thought about you. Let's catch up soon and grab a cup of coffee. I might not actually be in the area, but they don't know that. Happy birthdays get handwritten notes. Invitations to client events get written in the note. If the interest rates drop significantly, that will get written into the note. Something personal related to them. If I follow them on social media and I see they had a baby, I will reach out with a handwritten note saying congrats on the new family member. Reach out if you need anything. Those type of things. They're personal touches. Now I used to go to the dollar store to get my handwritten notes. Now I do so many of them that I buy 100 pack from Amazon of generic thank you notes for $14.97. And then I buy a roll of 100 stamps for about $71. And it cost me about $86 a month to do 100 handwritten notes. You do not need to start with that many. Start with one note a day and see where that leads. Then we have 4 quarterly phone calls. These are free. Do the DTD2. Home anniversary and birthdays. If you do not want to write them a handwritten note or handwritten notes are not your forte, you can send them a video message wishing them a happy birthday or wishing them a happy anniversary. It does not have to be a home anniversary. If you did not sell them their house, it can also be a wedding anniversary. If you send them a video, I guarantee you'll stand out. Every year on my birthday, I get 1 to 3 video messages a year. That's it. Now, I don't get nearly as many happy birthday wishes as I used to because I'm getting older. However, those 1 to 3 video messages, I remember every single year who sent me. It will be impactful. And then this is the change, and this is one of the easiest ways to remember it. Reach out once a month with something related to that month via holiday. So, for example, January, wish them Happy New Year. Valentine's, wish them Happy Valentine's. March, wish them St. Patrick's Day, or do something related to March Madness or spring break. Easter, whether it's Easter or if you celebrate a different holiday, you can wish them there. Ramadan, etc., what might be taking place during those months. Mother's Day, Father's Day, July 4th, back to school, Labor Day, etc., etc., etc. Now, holidays is the generic term. It doesn't actually have to be a holiday. If you Google like funny holidays, they'll give you a bunch of different examples. There's those funny things where it's like National Taco Day or National Sibling Day, or what it can be one of those too. Now, this does not have to be a note, a card, or a pop by. You can also use this as a text or a phone call or a video message. I have some agents that I coach that are doing video messages as the holiday touch. The reason why, they can record one video for 20 seconds and then send it to people every single day, and it stands out. I do this a lot. I did it a lot during Bold as well. And it's funny because then when I go to reach out to them again the next quarter, I can see that they read the video message and I can see who replied and who didn't. And it's a little bit more impactful. Question, thoughts, comments on the 36 touch? Cool. All right, let's get into some lead gen tactics. We've talked about this before. If you don't have an appointment that day, your primary focus is lead generation. Now, one of the things we talked about last week is your appointment goals. If you've been around a while, you've seen the economic model, which says how many appointments do I need to go on to sell my goal transaction count? And it varies based on your goal transaction count. 5 appointments a week or 20 appointments a month or 25 appointments a month is going to be, right, 5 appointments a week for 4 weeks, 20 appointments a month is going to be a lot of houses to sell. Most people don't have to go on an appointment every single day. That's what was brought up last week. Maybe it's 1 appointment a week. Maybe it's 2 appointments a week. When you don't have an appointment, we want to lead generate. I consider when I don't have an appointment that afternoon, I tell myself, you do have an appointment. It's getting back on the phone and lead generating some more. Based on my goals, which is about 50 houses for the year, I have to go on 2 appointments a week. If I don't hit my 2 appointments this week, I now have to do 8 appointments over the next 3 weeks. Appointments are the one measure that do carry over. We've talked about contact goals or conversation goals per day. If I have a goal of having 20 real estate conversations every single day and I have 10 today, it doesn't mean I have 30 tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day. I started that over with 20. Same thing with the social media 555. I started over tomorrow. I don't roll that over. The one thing that does roll over is appointments. However, your appointment goal is not nearly as high as you might think it is. And if you need help calculating your appointment goals, see me after class. We can go over the economic model, or go to the YouTube channel and watch the MREA models 1 and 2 video. We talk about it at length there. The number one solution to all of your problems is more leads. If we go back to my pipeline real briefly, there's a lot of C's on here. C's don't make me any money. A's do. So if I have a lot of C's on my pipeline, I can follow up with them till I'm blue in the face. If they're not moving to B's and A's, they're not worth my time. I will leave them on there and I will set them up with an automatic follow-up, whether it's a buyer search or the rest of the 36 touch that's already taking place. And I'm going to spend my time trying to go get more leads. We've talked about it happening in the morning. The most effective form of lead generation is phone calls and text behind face-to-face. Face-to-face is technically the most effective form of lead generation. The example I always give here is if I have a buyer consultation or I'm meeting somebody over a cup of coffee to talk about what buying a home looks like, they are much more likely to work with me than if they do a phone call or a text. The goal of lead generation is to book an appointment. The goal of the appointment is to book an agreement. The goal of the agreement is to get them under contract. Does that all make sense? I feel like I went through that very quickly. All right, I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4 scripts or 4 ideas that you can use to lead generate out of the database. These are the 4 slides that we're going to focus on tomorrow, in addition to some DTD2 stuff and some pipeline stuff. Okay. I want you to take a picture of these slides as I pull them up so you can remember them. And then obviously you'll have the recording of the video as well. The first one we've done before. This is how you add to the database. When you're already interacting with someone, this is a great way or great script or dialogue or conversation starter to use in those daily activities that we were talking about. So when you're at your kids' events or you're at school or you're at the nail salon or you're at the gym or you're getting your hair done, et cetera, and you're talking to somebody and they ask you what you do and you tell them you're in real estate, this is a great segue to get their contact information. If you came across someone looking to buy or sell in real estate, do you have someone you would refer them to? If they say no, you say, I'd love to be that person. Can I add you to my database and stay in touch? Some of the ways we stay in touch are holidays, a newsletter about the market, wishing you happy birthday, those kind of fun things. I'm not going to spam you. If they say yes, you will say, that's awesome. I'm looking to grow my business and my agent partnership network. Would you mind sharing their info with me so I can connect and learn from them on what they did to earn your trust so I can do the same for my database? If you don't want to give them that much detail, you can just say, that's great. I'm always looking to partner with great agents in the area. Can I have their contact information so I can connect with them? Period. If you get comfortable saying this, you will grow your database. The number one reason why we don't get referrals or we don't grow our database is we don't ask. We have to be okay with asking. And then we're going to give. All we're doing is asking them for permission to reach out to them. Then you can set up your 36 touch. It's not that you're going to be calling them every day or every week. Matter of fact, I typically make a joke for that. I typically say, like, I'm only going to call you 4 times a year. And like, that's pretty specific. And I'm like, yep, it's going to happen every quarter. And then I do that. Strategies to follow up, or what can you say when you're reaching out to folks? Now, this is both for your pipeline and for people in your database. Remember, we talked at the beginning, if you can tag or properly qualify your database, this becomes a lot easier. So for example, I have a tag in my database called homeowner. If they own their house, they're going to get tagged homeowner. The first one on here is a great way to reach out to homeowners. Did you see what your neighbor sold for? Just a simple question. Most of the time they say, no, I saw it was listed, but I never saw what it closed for. And it's an opportunity for you to share that with them. If they say yes, great. That's all you need to know. Or you can also say, have you thought about what your value is? If you're ever curious what your home value is, let me know. We can chat about that. Market updates. What are interest rates doing? What's the average days on market? PS, it's 10 days in our market right now. So no matter how much bad news you hear in the bad news in the news, no matter how much world is ending you hear, how much interest rates are too high, prices are falling, all of the world is ending news that we're hearing, the average days on market is 9.8 days or 10 days. In other words, from the day the home goes active to the day it's under contract is 10 days. Now, are there some that are longer? Absolutely. We just sold one over the weekend that was on the market for 31 days. However, 30 days is still pretty quick, especially for a $500,000 house. Now, this creates conversation. And this is also part of why I stress so much how to sell and buy at the same time. Because if I have a house to sell and I know I have to sell before I can buy new, and I hear my house is going to sell in 10 days, that creates a little bit of anxiety for me where I go, how am I going to find where I'm going next if my house is going to sell so quickly? And that's where you build that conversation and say, well, we actually have a bunch of different strategies to handle that. Can we meet so we can discuss those and see which one best fits for you? It's also a great opportunity to talk about loan programs or grants that come out. When Jackson or Harmony shares that we have FHLB, which is the Hero Grant, we want to reach out to those that are tagged hero and say, hey, we have grant money available for first responders or for doctors or for nurses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Incentive programs. You can get a pretty good idea of what builders are offering incentive wise and share that to people in your database. Have you thought about building a new home? Inventory for new construction is a little bit higher right now, and builders are offering the kitchen sink to close their homes on that they've already built or that are done. Some builders are offering up to $20,000 in credits. And then inviting them to open houses or to tour new construction homes with you is another great way to reach out. Now, some of the feedback I always get on the open house side of things is like, if they're not thinking about buying, why would I invite them to the open house? Two answers here. One, you might not invite them to an open house. However, you have a couple reasons why you could invite them to your open house. A, they live in the area. They're curious what homes are going for. B, they are thinking about buying and they're not sure what they can afford. So it's an opportunity for them to come at a no obligation and just tour a home, and then you can talk some numbers with them. C, and probably the most important one, they can get some face-to-face time with you. Now, if you know your open house is going to be really busy, you might not be able to commit that extended amount of time to talking to them. However, they can come look through a house. Sometimes it's fun to look through open houses, get a little bit of face-to-face time with you, and then you could book a follow-up appointment. This is great for internet leads or for people that you interacted with at a previous open house. If I do an open house in Westcott and I get a potential buyer, or I interact with people and maybe they're a little turned off or a little closed-minded and not really giving me much information, and then I do another open house in Westcott, even if it's a different property or the same property, I'm going to reach out to all those people that visited and invite them to come back. The more they see you, the more they interact with you, the higher likelihood you are of converting them. All right, I'm going to show you my special email. This is called the Would You Sell If email. Now, this is an example. You would not use the average cost of maintaining a home every single time. The first part is the stat you would give them. And then you would say, would you consider selling if? So the subject line, would you sell if ... Hey, John, I just read that the annual cost of maintaining a home is 26% higher than it was 4 years ago. Shout out to my buddy Chris Smith for sharing this bank rate study with me. Also, if you Google annual cost of maintaining a home, the first thing that pops up via AI is a most recent bank rate study shows that the cost of maintaining a home is 26% higher than it was 4 years ago. That's where I got that. This is why many sellers are cashing in on the equity they've gained recently. I know this is probably a crazy question, but if you had a great offer, would you consider selling? You can personalize this to say, if you had a great price, if you had a great offer that included picking when you move out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, would you consider selling? Another version of this email will be shared with you tomorrow. Come to group coaching for lead gen together. I will give you several examples of what you can replace the annual cost of maintaining a home with. So that way you can be in the loop. And then one more. We talked about this last week. This is straight from Rachel Adams. Social media, your 5-5-5 rule. Look to comment or engage with 5 people daily. Leave 5 comments and make them 5 words or more. This is an addition. I had not heard the 5 words or more strategy before, and yet it is impactful. It will do more. I'll give you a real life example. Found out one of my longtime friends that I grew up with got baptized over the weekend. Instead of commenting, love this, I commented, love this so much. Happy to see you and Rachel found a church you enjoy. God bless. You think that's a little bit more impactful than love this, or than just liking the post? It 100% was. To add a little bit of salt on it, I beat him in fantasy baseball this past week, and so I got to talk a little smack on top of that. He's one of my longtime good friends. He already knows I'm in real estate. I had not seen a post of his in probably 3 months. Now I'm seeing one every single time I log in on social media because I beat the algorithm. Now you would look at this per platform. So we talked about picking one platform to focus on. If you're already considered a social media guru or you already have a couple of platforms in place, do this on every single one of them. If you pick 25 people for the month, you can do 5 per day and hit those 25 people every single week, which will really trick the algorithm. All right, questions, thoughts, comments, concerns. Okay. I hope you all didn't fall asleep on me. Now, a couple things going to change with our calendar, and it's not necessarily going to take effect until May, so you don't need to worry about this yet. We are going to update our schedule to be more consistent with the model of lead genning in the morning. We talked about this last week, and I'm going to add something to it. Some of you probably saw the email that went out that asked if you prefer Zoom, in person, etc. The Mondays will stay the same. We're going to continue to focus on a topic. They're going to be on Zoom. They're going to be from 9 to 10. They're going to be recorded. They're going to be put in the YouTube channel. Tuesdays, we're going to meet in person at 9 o'clock in the training room, and we are going to group lead gen together. I'm going to do it as well because I need to lead gen more for my business. I will also be available to ask questions or to help handle objections or to help cross problems as they arise. We're going to add a third time that is not required, but it is available, where we will do it on Zoom. That will be Q&A. Now, when I say Q&A, it could be, what are you struggling with and need help with? It could be, hey, I want more experience running comparable properties. Will you show me how to do that? It may be, I need grant programs for my first-time home buyers. Who should I connect them with? It could be anything like that. If you come with the questions, we'll do it on Zoom. We will record those so you can watch them back, or if you can't make it, they will probably be on Thursday. I just haven't nailed down a time yet, but it will be via Zoom. Now, if you don't have questions or things are grooving, or I saw you Monday and Tuesday, you can't make it that Thursday, no big deal. Especially because we're still going to have those classes, whether it's Kim's classes or Rachel Baker or whatever it may be. Those are also important. Same thing with Brown Bag Lunch with Beth. Those of you that are plugging into the office, keep doing so. We're trying to get out in front of it and build some lead gen into your schedules, especially those of you that have been here a while, and B, still allow time for Q&A or for a specific thing that might not be long enough to do a full training on, but it can be a question and answer, kind of like what we used to do with the one-on-one coaching, but we're still going to have a one-to-many because a lot of you have the same questions, and I want to make sure everybody's experiencing it at the same level. Cool? Awesome. All right. Go lead gen. I will see all of you tomorrow morning. I am going to be there around 8:30, 8:40. So if you want to come in early and prep for what we're going to be doing, please do so. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.